at number 14 Wandarri Avenue, my grandfather's house. It's a bit of a sad day. It's part of the process of taking down the house piece by piece. Today is the tiles. The house has been in my family for 60 years, since my grandfather built it in the early 1950s. All around are much more modern houses now. It's pretty much the last kind of relic of that time.
I can't ask my granddad about the building of the house, so I decided to talk to those who shared his experience and can take me back to that time.
We sailed on the 6th of February 1952, and that was the same day that King George VI died.
I can remember the boat trip coming out. I can remember the emotion of my parents saying goodbye to their families.
Betty Tilley and her husband Alan had also just arrived at Wexcombe.
When we got off at Guildford, the first thing I thought, oh, we're in America, it's a cowboy town.
Unfortunately, when we got there were Nissen huts.
It was pretty rough. I mean, it was summer, first of all, and there were flies everywhere. And, you know, you come from England, you come from the cool, and winter, really.
The house they put us in had no linings on.
It had no electricity, no water, no internal walls, no doors, no windows. We went to a house that was barely there.
It was a bit of a shock, I think. That's the main thing.
So you had no choice, you couldn't leave.
A group of 12 men, including my granddad, decided to act and to take their fate into their own hands.
If you had to get a team together, you had to get the balance right. So we finally got 12 people that were interested.
We had carpenters, tilers, electricians, plumbers, so we had the works.
The 12 of us decided which block we wanted. We settled that.
We went up the main road.
The sand track, that's what I remember of it. The bush lots, they were, you know, our houses were the first 4 built, and I remember that most of the other lots were bush.
And he said, the blocks are in there. I just cried my eyes out, I'm not living in the bush.
We got the expensive one at £200.
They did it weekends, and every 6 weekends they had off.
It was pretty hard working during the day and then working the weekends as well, every weekend as well.
My mother tells me that they were very lonely for those 4 years. I knew that eventually that we were going to go and live in a new house, and that there were other people that my father was doing the same with. But the significance of it, I think, and the difference it was going to make in our lives wasn't really evident until we got there.
This house is quite a big part of my identity. My earliest memories and my most powerful memories are of being in this house with my grandparents, with my mum and dad, my sister. All these years it's been here, I perhaps didn't show it as much attention or as much love as I could have. It feels a little bit disloyal, but I know that my grandfather wanted us to be able to live here as a family and all be happy, and currently the house is just it's not possible to live in it. So I don't think he'd be too upset with us. I think we're more upset with ourselves. It feels quite final. I'm very aware of the fact that this is probably one of the last views I'm going to get of the house, really looking like a house. It just seems, it's very quiet. I was expecting there to be more activity right now. So it feels like the quiet before the storm, the calm before the storm.
As the daughter of one of these men that worked so hard to achieve for their families, I am endlessly proud of what he did for me and what all these men did for their families.
For a while I was very upset about knowing that the house had to go when the actual frameworks was there. It was still a very strangely beautiful thing, but it was no longer able to be lived in by a modern family, and I know that my dad would be saying, just do it, kid. It's that empty space now. We can continue to live at that address. Number 14 stays in our family.